Finally breaking his silence after years, Bob Dylan spoke out today. And the music industry is still reeling from the revelations he made on Al Kooper. The disclosure was blatantly obvious. The story of Kooper as a cherished studio magician and musical genius, as portrayed by Dylan, was incomplete. Kooper has been an irritant, antagonist, and source of contention behind closed doors for quite some time. Finally, the skeletons have come tumbling out of hiding. Keep in mind that famous day in June 1965. The New York City session where Like a Rolling Stone was recorded at Columbia Records. Not even officially invited, Kooper famously snuck into the session and bluffed his way onto the Hammond organ. So what happened? An ancient melody. The audience may have perceived genius, but the musicians there likely felt annoyance. Some people didn't value the moment as much as Dylan did. Kooper was supposedly a nuisance to guitarist Mike Bloomfield, who is famous for scorching blues licks. He was out of place there. Kooper carried the weight of Bloomfield's confession with him for the better part of his career. His tendency to meddle in undertakings, whether they were appreciated or not, became a constant source of disagreement. Although Al Kooper had excellent musical intuition, his flamboyant nature frequently caused friction with the musicians he worked with. Many saw him as narcissistic, ambitious, and even manipulative at times. Dylan has now proven that many in the scene saw Kooper as an enemy rather than a fellow artist, someone whose talents as a musician barely overcame his imperfections. Really, all I'm feeling is sad. Unfortunately, I won't be able to take part in it, but I can assure you that it was rather insane if you did. Consider the short but ferocious time Kooper spent fronting the band Blood, Sweat, and Tears. Disagreements over ideas soon became heated debates. A rock band using horns was Kooper's vision. Nobody else in the group noticed that. He was either forced or leaped out of there within months. Whatever the case may be, animosity and years of silence followed his departure. Kooper's issues extended beyond his bandmates. While recording with famous artists like Leonard Skinner, there was a lot of tension. He was the producer of their first 3 albums, but rumor has it that his domineering personality and obsession with perfection caused him to have frequent outbursts. During several recording sessions, Ronnie Van Sant allegedly lost it with Kooper due to his Yankee haughtiness. After Van Sant accused Kooper of stifling the band's essence behind slick production, one engineer recalled a near-physical altercation. Despite not resolving the grudge, they completed the album. The session musicians also caused some trouble. Following a bad encounter with Kooper, some of them refused to work with him again. According to one bassist, Kooper insisted on smoking constantly and yelling caustic remarks between songs as he demanded 50 different takes of the same riff before finally agreeing to compromise. Others believed that Kooper was too controlling during meetings, turning them into more of a dictatorship than a collaborative effort. It wasn't limited to the artists either. Kooper was characterized by his co-workers in engineering and production as someone who was quick to speak over others and had a hard time taking criticism. It was either his way or no way for him. He would cause delays and budget overruns by reversing decisions, erasing blends without notice, and completely ignoring timelines. So what happened? Kooper was consistently outstanding, but he was also frequently alone. Some think that despite the many egos and shattered tempers that went into his work, he was only hired again and again because the final result was too good to pass up. His ability to destroy relationships was a defining feature of Cooper's life. In private, he and Blood, Sweat, and Tears co-star Steve Katz had a long-running animosity. Katz had previously said that Kooper was impossible to deal with. Studio disputes weren't the only thing that drove a wedge between them. Reportedly, Katz would not attend industry functions where Kooper was invited, and the two would remain silent for decades. Friends and acquaintances who used to play music together had to choose sides, further dividing their musical circle. Kooper had already battled with jazz players outside of rock who thought his crossover experiments were an affront to their genre. Reportedly, Kooper stormed off-stage mid-set at a 1976 Chicago jazz fusion concert because a revered saxophonist openly blasted him for contaminating music with gimmicks. After that tantrum escalated into a fight behind the scenes, Kooper was fired and barred from performing at future festivals. In the 1970s, a brief partnership with Stephen Stills came to an abrupt end after only a few weeks due to heated arguments that escalated into physical altercations in the studio over creative differences. Due to his habit of dominating situations, Kooper was unable to find a middle ground. In one furious argument, Stills allegedly tossed a chair across the room at Kooper, saying that his egotistical judgments were ruining the music. Both men remained silent about the project's demise for years after it happened. A lot of musicians spoke about Kooper behind the scenes, and they were both amazed and cautious. No one ever doubted his abilities, but his attitude caused the ground to burn. Kooper left a wake of shattered relationships behind him, including those with producers, bandmates, and managers. He allegedly internalized rejection and acted out privately after each setback, according to his friends. For months at a time, he stayed alone, harboring resentment and thinking about every argument as if it were a tape stuck in repeat. A personal life, just as troubled as the artistic one, lay behind it all. After years of stress, long hours in the studio, and an absentee lifestyle, Kooper's marriage began to crumble in the early 1980s. He felt abandoned while he chased sounds in the studio, leaving his wife to raise their son mostly on her own. Whispers in the tabloids suggested adultery on both sides, extinguishing a fire that was already well underway. Their son's custody battle stretched on for years in the courts, creating emotional wounds that never entirely healed, and the divorce was a shambles, with yelling matches leaking out of the courtroom and into the newspapers. According to his relatives, he was emotionally distant and preferred playing instruments over being close to others. There was a complete erasure of birthdays and holidays. He neglected his family since he was so engrossed in music. According to his brother, Al frequently pushed people away from his inner circle because he lived in his thoughts. Kooper was too proud to go after loved ones who had given up trying. A slew of friends dropped by. Many of them felt exploited, as if Kooper only needed them when he wanted something. Accounts surfaced of friendships ruined by jealousy, ego, or plain old disinterest, or of unexpected ruptures caused by little arguments. His incapacity to connect with others was characterized by some as emotionally unavailable and by others as a silent torture. Living in the shadows of his own success, he was unable to sustain the connections that meant most due to his increasing isolation caused by betrayals, paranoia, and the continual search of the next musical high. Kooper had major health problems as he got older. He had to spend a lot of time in the hospital in the 90s after suffering from kidney failure, which almost killed him. His prognosis for the night was uncertain, according to the doctors. After his reign over the recording studios, the quiet of the hospital room with its constant beeping of machinery was a stark contrast. Even as his physical self started to mend, a part of him broke irreparably. Though physically weaker, he was emotionally disturbed by the incident. The world had continued without him when he reappeared. Kooper, who had been a trailblazer in his day, felt like a relic as newer generations of musicians took over the charts. No longer was the phone ringing. None of the former partners showed up. The arrival of invitations ceased. He believed that no one cared about him anymore. Not his colleagues in the music industry, not even his admirers, who saw him as an ephemeral character from another time. He avoided reunions, turned off interviews, and refused to be featured in documentaries as a means of coping. His friends say he went crazy and thought others were changing history behind his back. Although he frequently claimed health issues as an excuse for his lack of public appearances, those close to the matter indicate that his pride and sorrow were the real culprits. He was more comfortable staying out of the limelight, allowing the legends to spread as he quietly battled his own legacy. A life shaped by achievements, yet plagued by feelings of isolation and loss. Regardless of the controversy, Kooper will go down in rock lore as an iconic figure. His ability to recognize talent, his natural flair for composition, and his daring to take musical chances influenced many. Before anybody else could hear them, he found new sounds, and he orchestrated magical collaborations between seemingly unrelated performers. Along with those strengths came a tendency to be quick to anger, have an inflated sense of self-importance, and have trouble letting go of grudges. His mixed legacy is confirmed by Dylan's latest comments. A man who altered music without altering his own character. Kooper was a provocateur and a genius. He was an idealist who erected barriers rather than bridges. His art was beloved, but his haughtiness reviled, and he was both revered and alienated by those around him. He was a man whose life was contradictory. Even when he was at the pinnacle of his profession, he appeared to be at odds with his supporters. Every achievement came at a personal cost, whether it was the loss of a collaborator, a friendship, or a bond. The world is now getting the complete picture, and it's messier than anyone had anticipated because the hush has been broken. This is a tale of genius as well as lost chances, emotional devastation, and a man who was frequently the one holding him back. Al Kooper's brilliance shone a light on a whole generation. He cast equally lengthy shadows, though.